You know that feeling? When just one little negative thought kind of sets up shop in your head and just won't leave. Or maybe a comment from a friend, totally casual, but it lands like a personal hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, today we're actually diving headfirst into a really elegant way to maybe sidestep some of those mental minefields.
Okay.
We're going to explore the core ideas from the Four Agreements, the book by Don Miguel Ruiz. We're using a really insightful breakdown from the YouTube channel Escaping Ordinary BC Marks as our guide.
Right. So it's like getting the essence of this powerful stuff distilled into things you can actually use.
Exactly. That YouTube video goes deep, but our goal here is to give you the essential toolkit, the Four Agreements themselves.
So you can see pretty quickly how they might, reshape your day-to-day experience, make things feel a bit better maybe, without getting totally overwhelmed by all the detail.
That's the plan.
Yeah. So our mission basically is to understand these four simple principles and just how powerful they can actually be. So where do we start? The foundation.
Let's start with words. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word.
Okay.
Now, on the surface, that sounds simple enough, right? Speak nicely.
Yeah, be kind.
But it goes much deeper. It's really about the power and the intention behind the words we use out loud, but also, importantly, in our own heads.
That internal chatter.
Exactly. And it's arguably the most powerful agreement and, honestly, often the hardest one to really live by.
Okay, so unpack that a bit. This idea that words have, actual force. It's not just, talking.
Precisely. It's like our language literally shapes the reality we experience, for good.
Or for bad.
Or for bad.
Yeah.
Think about it historically. You can have one person's words, maybe in the last century, completely change the course of history for millions.
Yeah, that's sobering.
It shows the sheer potency words can have.
And, on a personal level, it feels like our minds are just so open to words we hear.
Yeah.
Like sponges.
They really are. The source uses this analogy of words being like seeds planted in fertile ground, our minds.
Okay.
And that ground, it'll grow whatever seed lands there, positive or negative.
Right. And it's not just what other people say, is it? It's what we tell ourselves, too, those internal seeds.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting, or maybe worrying, is how easily those negative seeds can sprout. This leads to the idea of words acting like spells.
Spells. Oh, that's...
Yeah. So the source material tells this story about a father. He told his young son, who loved to sing, that he had a terrible voice. Just an offhand comment in frustration.
Oh, no.
But years later, that son was still incredibly reluctant to sing, to express himself in that way. That one comment cast a long shadow, a negative spell.
Wow. That really drives it home. Even unintentional words, especially from people we love or trust, they can have this almost hypnotic effect. It makes you think, how many little spells like that are we all carrying around? Or maybe even casting ourselves without realizing.
It's a powerful thought. And think about opinions as spells, too. You feel good, someone hits you with a criticism.
Yeah.
If you agree with it, if you let it in and say, yeah, they're right, boom, your whole mood can tank.
Right.
But the key insight here is crucial, that opinion. It's usually way more about the speaker's world, their own beliefs, their filters, their dream, as the book calls it.
Not necessarily about the actual truth of you.
Exactly. It's a reflection of them.
Okay. This is where it gets, really interesting for me. This idea of input equals output. What we feed our minds matters.
Totally. If you're constantly soaking in negativity, the news, maybe negative people you hang around with, or even just that harsh inner critic.
Yeah, beating yourself up.
Right. Your subconscious can actually start to filter your experiences through that lens. It might even subconsciously steer you towards situations that confirm that negativity.
So it's we need to curate our mental diet.
You absolutely do. Be proactive about what you consume mentally.
Okay. And then there's gossip. The source is pretty strong on this one, calls it black magic.
It does. It's basically using words with the deliberate intent to harm someone else's reputation or standing. Often it's driven by that, misery loves company vibe.
Trying to feel better by putting someone else down.
Yeah, exactly.
Reminds me of that principle, I think Covey talks about it, being loyal to those who are absent. Don't trash talk people behind their back.
That's a great connection. The source uses a really potent analogy, too. Gossip is like a computer virus.
Okay.
It's this tiny piece of malicious code, right? But it spreads incredibly fast through a network, a community, an office, whatever, and it corrupts trust, distorts how people see things.
Yeah, you see that with rumors.
Yeah.
How fast they can take hold and just poison the atmosphere.
Totally poisonous. And there's this idea of reciprocity, too. If you're constantly putting out that negative energy with your words, gossiping, being critical.
It comes back to you.
Often, yeah. In some form or another, that energy you project tends to boomerang.
Okay, so let's quickly recap Agreement 1. It's about really respecting the power of our words, spoken and internal, understanding they shape our reality, impact others deeply, watch out for casting negative spells, manage your mental input, and just avoid gossip. Treat it like toxic stuff.
Well put.
All right, so if our words are that powerful, what's the next step? How do we handle the words coming at us?
That brings us perfectly to the second agreement. Don't take anything personally.
Okay, this sounds easier said than done. Especially today, everything feels personal sometimes.
It can feel that way, absolutely. But the core idea here is that taking something personally means you are agreeing with what was said or implied.
Ah, okay. So it's an active agreement on my part.
Yes. And when you agree, you open the door for their emotional poison, as the source calls it, to get inside you.
That makes sense. And this habit, taking things personally, it can run deep, right?
Oh, definitely. Over years, by constantly taking things personally, we can actually build up these negative self-identities. We make these silent agreements in our minds. I'm not smart enough. I'm unlikable. All based on stuff other people said or did.
And we might not even realize we're doing it.
Often we don't. But our subconscious, it's listening.
Right. You mentioned the subconscious.
Yeah, it hears those agreements, and it actually works to make them true in your reality. It looks for evidence to validate those negative beliefs. It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, it really is. So the antidote is seeing things differently.
Exactly. It's shifting your perspective.
Yeah.
Realizing that what other people say or do, their criticisms, their anger, even their compliments, sometimes it's almost always coming from their internal world.
Their beliefs, their mood that day, their own issues.
Their dream, right. It's not an objective statement about you. Remember that saying, what Peter says about Paul tells you more about Peter than about Paul?
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's exactly that principle.
So it's like everyone's living in their own movie, almost. And their comments are coming from their script, not necessarily mine.
Perfect analogy. And when we take it personally, we're assuming their script somehow applies to our character.
Which probably doesn't.
Yeah.
So their opinions are just glimpses into their reality.
Glimpses into their reality, exactly. And the source uses another great metaphor. Don't make someone else's emotional garbage your emotional garbage.
Ooh, I like that. Don't pick up their trash.
Pretty much. Their negativity, their judgments, that's their stuff to deal with. You don't have to take it on board.
And this links back to the input-output idea too, doesn't it? Like, if you're cultivating positivity inside,
you're less likely to attract or be bothered by negativity from outside. You sort of set a different frequency.
Okay.
And interestingly, the source even touches on this idea. It's a bit heavy, but that some people can almost get addicted to suffering.
Really?
Yeah, like they subconsciously seek out situations or comments that confirm their negative self-view. They create these echo chambers of negativity.
Wow, where everyone just validates each other's misery.
Kind of. But the flip side is also true. Think about positive groups.
Right. Like entrepreneurs brainstorming.
Exactly. People coming together with positive energy, collaborating. They create these positive congregations, the source calls them, where good things happen, where abundance can grow.
So choosing not to take things personally, it's actually really freeing.
Immensely freeing. It means you can keep your heart open, You're less afraid of being judged or hurt, so you can connect more genuinely. It builds resilience.
But it definitely takes practice. It's not a switch you just flip.
Oh, absolutely not. It's a conscious effort, a muscle you build over time. Reminders help. Consistent practice is key.
Okay, so summing up agreement 2. Taking stuff personally means you're buying into someone else's view of you. Remember, their words and actions are mostly about them, their world. Don't internalize their emotional garbage. Protect your peace.
That's the core of it.
All right. Agreement 3. I think this one trips up so many of us, myself included. Don't make assumptions.
Oh, it's a big one. We seem wired to do it, don't we? We fill in the blanks constantly.
All the time.
And the problem is, those assumptions are often wrong, and they lead to, well, misunderstandings and a lot of needless drama and suffering.
Yeah.
The source offers a really helpful rule of thumb, though. If you have to assume, try assuming the positive first.
Okay, why? Because negative assumptions just cause trouble.
Pretty much. It sets off that chain reaction we talked about. You assume something negative.
Then you take it personally when it seems true or when things don't go as you assumed.
Exactly. Then you start blaming the other person, and suddenly you're stewing in that emotional poison again. It's often a self-created cycle.
Right. And our general mindset affects this too, doesn't it?
Massively. If your underlying state is kind of negative or fearful, your assumptions will probably lean that way. But as you practice these agreements, as you build more self-love, more empowerment,
Your assumptions might naturally become more positive.
they often do. You start giving people the benefit of the doubt more, looking for more constructive explanations.
Like the example in the source. The partner not texting back.
Classic example. So relatable.
Your mind can instantly jump to, they're ignoring me, they're mad, what did I do? All that anxiety.
Which just creates stress and maybe even leads to picking a fight later.
Right. Versus assuming something neutral or positive. Oh, maybe their phone died, or they must be really busy, they'll reply when they can.
Which leads to a much calmer internal state, less drama.
And the source really hammers home that negative assumptions fuel blame.
They do. You create a story in your head based on an assumption, and when reality doesn't match your assumed story, you blame the other person. It creates resentment.
Whereas positive assumptions kind of empower you to handle the situation better.
Generally, yes. You approach it with more clarity, less emotional baggage.
There was a really strong quote the source mentioned. Something like, all the sadness and drama in your life comes from making assumptions and taking things personally.
Yeah, it's a bold statement, but when you think about conflicts, arguments, misunderstandings, so often these two are at the root.
Especially in relationships, right? Assuming we know what the other person wants or thinks.
Oh, constantly. We assume we know their needs, their desires, their intentions, often without ever just asking.
And that leads to disappointment, unmet expectations.
Huge amounts of it. Potential heartbreak, even. We build up this whole idea based on assumptions and then feel let down when the other person, well, isn't living up to our assumed version of them.
The source had that analogy.
Yeah.
Searching for buried treasure without a map.
Yeah. That's what it's like assuming you know what someone else truly desires. You're just guessing, stumbling around in the dark.
Okay, so this ties into love and acceptance.
It does. The idea that real love isn't about assuming someone fits your mold or trying to change them to fit your assumptions.
It's about accepting them as they are.
Exactly. Seeing them clearly. And the source suggests maybe find someone who already aligns with what you value, rather than assuming you can change someone into your ideal.
That makes a lot of sense. Appreciate the person, not the projection. And the simple, direct way to stop assuming.
Ask questions.
Ask.
It sounds so basic, but it's incredibly powerful. It connects back to Covey again. Seek first to understand. Don't assume, ask.
But ego gets in the way sometimes, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to seem like we don't know.
Totally. Ego hates asking questions. It prefers the illusion of knowing, even if that knowing is based on a faulty assumption.
Which leaves you in that fog of uncertainty. Asking brings clarity.
Certainty, understanding, less drama.
Okay, recap 3. Stop assuming. Especially negative stuff. It just breeds blame and drama, often mixed with taking things personally.
Right.
In relationships, don't guess what people want, communicate, ask. Accept people as they are. Clarity comes from asking, not assuming.
You got it.
All right, brings us to the final piece, agreement number 4.
The fourth agreement is always do your best.
Okay.
And this one is about effort, consistency, and also, importantly, self-compassion.
Self-compassion. How so?
Well, the core idea isn't about being perfect 100% of the time. That's impossible. It's about putting in your best effort in any given moment, whatever that looks like for you on that particular day.
Oh, okay. Because your best changes, right? Some days you're on fire, other days, not so much.
Exactly. Your best when you're healthy and rested is different from your best when you're sick or stressed. The agreement is just to commit to giving whatever your best is in that moment.
Not comparing today's best to yesterday's best.
Precisely. And the key is that consistent effort over time leads to improvement. Even your bad days start to get better than your old bad days used to be.
Okay. And the source mentioned a distinction. Doing something because you love doing it versus just doing it for the reward.
Yes. It encourages finding joy in the action itself, in the process of doing your best, rather than being solely focused on the outcome or what you'll get for it.
Like, enjoy the run, don't just run for the medal.
Good way to put it. The source actually uses Forrest Gump as an example.
Oh.
He's not presented as, intellectually brilliant, but he just tries his best at whatever's in front of him. Simple intention, full effort.
And achieves amazing things without even seeming to expect rewards for it.
Exactly. Just doing his best in the moment.
And this agreement it sort of holds the others up.
That's a key point. You won't always succeed perfectly at being impeccable with your word, or never taking things personally, or never assuming. You just won't.
We're human.
Right. But if you commit to always doing your best to practice those first 3 agreements, that's where the real change happens. The effort is what matters.
So it's like learning any skill, really. Playing guitar, learning a language.
Exactly the same principle. Mastery comes from repetition, from consistent practice.
So actively trying each day. Maybe reminders, like you said before.
Making a conscious effort to live by these agreements day by day. That's how they stop being concepts and start becoming, just how you operate.
Okay, so summing up the 4th. Always do your best. Knowing your best varies. Focus on the effort and the process, not just the reward. This commitment supports the other 3 agreements. And like any skill, practice and repetition are how you get better.
That's it in a nutshell.
So there we have them, the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word.
Don't take anything personally.
Don't make assumptions.
And always do your best.
4 simple lines, but wow, a pretty profound framework for changing things, for personal transformation.
They really offer a powerful roadmap. So as you, the listener, think about these, maybe just take a moment. How do these agreements show up, or maybe not show up, in your own thoughts, your words, your daily interactions?
Yeah, where could you maybe apply one of them, even just a little more consciously, starting today in your work, your relationships?
It's worth reflecting on.
Definitely. And just to leave you with something to chew on, here's the thought. What if just consistently focusing on one of these agreements, maybe the one that resonates most or feels hardest, what if doing that for just a week could start a real ripple effect of positive change in your life? Think about those deep habits, those unconscious agreements we all have. What tiny deliberate step could you take today to maybe start gently reshaping one of them?